Now what starts with the letter C? Cookie starts with C. Let's think of other things that starts with C. Who cares about the other things? C is for cookie. That's good enough for me. C is for cookie. That's good enough for me. C is for cookie. That's good enough for me. Oh, cookie, cookie, cookie starts with C. Oh, C is for cookie. That's good enough for me. C is for cookie. That's good enough for me. C is for cookie. That's good enough for me. Oh, cookie, cookie, cookie starts with C. Hey, you know what? A round cookie with one bite out of it looks like a C. A round donut with one bite out of it also looks like a C, but it is not as good as a cookie. Oh, the moon sometimes looks like a C, but you can't eat that. So, C is for cookie. That's good enough for me. Yeah, C is for cookie. That's good enough for me. C is for cookie. That's good enough for me. Oh, cookie, cookie, cookie starts with C. Yeah! Cookie, cookie, cookie starts with C. Oh boy! Cookie, cookie, cookie starts with C.
All right.
And so we conclude Salty Vet Chat and continue now with New York Comic Con 2013 coverage.
We just got back from Saturday and day 3. What? Stop that.
Yes, day 3.
Was that a W? What the fuck?
No, it was a 3.
Okay.
I just kept waving my hand after you for no reason.
Just to confuse me. And I think we're all pretty beat.
Yeah.
But Saturday, traditionally the crazy busiest day. It's when the most people are at the con, and it has usually the biggest events are on Saturday. So how did everybody feel? Was it manageable? Was it crazy? What was like the general feeling?
Well, I won't beat around the bush. I definitely felt it today. I felt the pressure, just like, any Saturday. But unlike last year, it did not make me it did not drive me to the point of giving up.
Yeah, there was a few things I didn't get into, but once again, usually, if one door closes, you go into another, and I got into some awesome stuff, and that's really what keeps you going, in my opinion.
It was nuts, but I didn't have any trouble getting into anything more than I had on any other day, I guess.
Yeah.
Because me and Pats went to the show floor in the middle of the day, and
It was like 3 in the afternoon. We walked around and didn't feel like we were going to die.
Exactly. And we couldn't have said that last year.
Yeah.
I mean, Saturday last year, I pretty much avoided going to the show floor at all. I was like, no way. Just forget it. Like, I'm not even gonna try it. It's not worth it. But this time, I had the same problem. I didn't get into a couple of panels, but I also didn't show up to them an hour before the panel started. But again, it seemed like as long as you did that, you got into your panel. Mm-hmm. So I think that held true on Saturday. You didn't need to get there like 2 or 3 hours ahead or anything crazy, but it was just like panels were kind of lining up with the end of other panels I was in, and I had to choose one over the other, and that's just the nature of it. So
yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if there were any panels that I got turned away from so far, and I can't think of any.
Didn't you guys not get into Cosmos?
well, he wasn't really I mean,
I wasn't actually planning to. I didn't even know it was there, actually, until he mentioned it to me. The only big thing I went to was the Superman 75th anniversary panel, which was, in the main event hall. And it was the only time I'd gone to the main event hall all weekend so far. Probably will be the only time. And I got there about an hour early, right as they finished seating for the panel before it, which was Archer. It was probably the perfect time to get there. And I got in line. I stood around for, 45 minutes playing on my DS. And got right into the Superman panel. I was one of the last people in, really, and I got a good seat. I wasn't originally planning to go to it. I would have been disappointed if I didn't get in, but more of because it ended up being my favorite thing so far this weekend, not because I was expecting it to have been my favorite thing so far this weekend. It just ended up being one of those things that I really enjoyed.
The same thing kind of happened to me. I went to the J. Michael Straczynski panel because I'm like, yeah, I like Babylon 5, and there's nothing super interesting during this time. So I went in there, and he was a surprisingly good talker. He was a little bit snarky, but very playful with the audience, and he obviously, that's just his style. But he obviously had a lot of respect, and he was really encouraging. I felt like he really, despite the kind of, cynical thing that he gave out, I really felt really energized after listening to him speak. And he had some sad stories about the original captain from Babylon 5 that I remember Vince and Vinny were like, man, why do we have to go to a convention and always see somebody that we, a creator we like, and they have to tell us some super horrible story that's like kind of like about the human experience, but also kind of like, we all must die in the end.
That is sad. No, I thought it was also sad when Mariyama-san was talking about Satoshi Kon at the Masters of Animanga today. And he was like, very sincerely saying, like, I will finish this project before I pass away. And it was like, no!
Well,
It was
that was also kind of my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For asking about
And it was slightly diluted by his earlier comments.
Oh, God.
That panel.
Yeah.
That panel was out of control pretty much immediately because, first, I don't know if anybody listening has heard of this, like, Wikia Animanga thing that they did, but I, literally had no clue what it was until we went to this panel. And it's this collaborative...
It's like, so basically what they did is they went to Koike and Mariyama. Basically, it sounds like these are the guys they got sent to, basically. And they said, hey, we want to do this thing where we basically come up with some character designs and some story, starters, and then throw it up on a wiki and tell everybody to go have at it. And create their own Animanga story. And so they hired they got these other guys involved in it, artists and writers and stuff, to do character designs and story specs for these things, including Amano, Yoshitaka Amano, the Final Fantasy designer and shit, who I didn't know he was involved in it at all until this panel. Mm-hmm. And then, so they all came up with their ideas, they threw it up on this wikia, and then basically kids all over the United States that want to create the next Naruto got to work together to create these stories. That's not supposed to sound as mean-spirited as it comes off, probably, but that's really what it seems like it boiled down to.
Judging from, the results.
The results. And then they start asking questions about it to this panel. And they ask Koike, so, this is kind of a unique setup, where you have, a bunch of creative people collaborating on a story. What do you think of that? And his answer is basically, I hate collaborating on stories. It sucks. I never do it. Because because then you disagree and you get in arguments, so I just don't do any of that stuff. I like to work by myself. the guy, like, hosting the thing is just kind of like, anyway, back to, and just starts throwing questions at other
Like,
people.
there should have been a record scratcher.
Like, you know he was not expecting that answer from him.
And that kind of set the tone for the general.
Yeah.
For that panel in general. Like, it was really just the creators, doing their own thing, telling us some interesting stories, but they couldn't care less about the project itself.
They were noticeably, like, in a better mood at this one than they were in the one yesterday.
Yeah,
They
like-
were telling stories.
Mariama just seemed dead at the last one. Like, hey, old man, please wake up. Oh, yes, that's a real question.
I wonder if they had just gotten in,
Yeah,
Whereas-
I'm betting they did.
whereas today they had rest and,
It was a
they
little
whatever.
earlier in the day, too.
They probably
Yeah.
had some food and some alcohol in them, and yeah, they were just...
They definitely had some alcohol in them.
Oh my gosh.
Like, not a lot, but definitely some. Mariama, okay, maybe Mariama. Probably not a lot. Goes a long way for him because he's like 4 feet tall. So yeah, he had some interesting things to say.
Like when they were asking, like, oh, why should I draw cute girls in my manga? And then he just basically tells the whole panel that he's a lolicon. And like,
Wanted them. Because I'm a lolicon and would like these cute girls in my... Because I love cute girls.
he was out of control, but I think my favorite story was the one that Al got from Koike about, which kind of only tangentially was related to what Al had asked, but the one about trying to bring the samurai sword into through U.S. Customs, and like, he of course gets in all this trouble, and then they detain him for an hour or so, asking him questions, and then eventually they're like, why did you even bother doing this? Like, why bring this sword? And he was like, don't you know? I'm the creator of Lone Wolf and Cub. And then they let me go. I was like, it's almost as if he just uses that everywhere he goes. Like, whenever he gets into trouble, like, he stole a bag of cookies. Why did you do that? I'm the creator of Lone Wolf and Cub. Oh, all right. Like, whatever. Like...
Yeah, he was awesome. That was an awesome panel.
It was, but it was very not well attended.
No, it wasn't. It was which actually surprised me a little bit, because they had big banners up for it in the hall and everything, promoting these panels, and they did not get a good response for them. So, now they know. Don't bother with anime fans.
I know, that's a really disappointing because there are, such big names on the panels, so it was very...
They weren't promoting the names very well either, is part of the problem. It's like Afro Samurai Guy, Kazuo Koike, Masao Maruyama, who can't fill the panel room anyway. It's like, say, come see the Afro Samurai Guy, and come see the Lone Wolf and Cub guy on a panel talking about samurai. Suddenly you probably get a little better interest when you present it in that light.
Yeah, I don't know. It was mostly a panel day
Yeah.
for everybody, I think. It was a lot less, like...
A lot of panels. Hanna-Barbera panel was actually really cool, too.
It was really good. It was done by the Warner Brothers archivists who do, release all this sort of, not necessarily rare footage. Some of the stuff that they do is very rare, but, just going through the back catalog. And this was all about Alex Toth, who was a comic artist, and he was also... like a huge designer for Hanna-Barbera and kind of set a lot of their standards for kind of the way that they did the art and designed their characters.
It's important to say this is their sci-fi stuff, not their, Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo ripoffs.
Right. Yeah, this was, Space Ghost, the Thundar, and the... Oh my god, why did their name just fly out of my head?
So hooks.
No.
And he did like the Super Friends.
Yeah.
That other one with the barbarian looking dude.
That's why it's like flying out of my head. Anyway.
Space Ghost.
It's just one of those things that you totally know and is so like a part of kind of Saturday morning cartoons and all that. So it was very interesting. They did show some clips that they said they haven't shown before because they have access to just like everything. Also, they showed these hilarious Underoos commercials that he had done storyboards for, and they were I tell you what, those would never fly today because they're just children, like 7-year-old boys and girls running around in their underwear. And I was like, man, wow, like, no, this is totally innocent, but like this would totally never happen right now, like just the way that it was all presented. But anyway, it was a very good panel, and
It was a very like educational and interesting and just stuff you don't really see a lot of, and it was fun to go to, and it was full. It was a tiny room, but it was a full room.
yeah, but those side panel rooms, God,
They
they're not good, but also they just can't make lines for them to save their lives. I don't get what's going on.
Because it's a big hallway at the same time. I mean, there just isn't room for it all.
It's just a total mess every single time for any of those rooms. I hate it.
The line to get into the Adventure Time Encyclopedia panel was all sorts of bizarre because there were multiple lines, and then when some were moving, they were like merging and splitting at the same time.
What
And
room
like-
was it in?
Was it 08?
Yeah.
It was A08. Yes,
Which
the
is
one.
an okay size room, right?
It's not a very big room. I'm
yeah.
so surprised that it was in that room. Because we were in there earlier in the day for Rocket Girl and Beyond Webcomics.
Yeah.
And, I mean, both those... the Beyond Webcomics got totally full, but it's not a very big room. So, but anyway, how was the Adventure Time? Sounds like it was
a
hilarious.
trap.
Yeah, pretty much, because it was immediately before the autograph signing for the people at the panel. And, we basically had a choice from there, either to attend the panel and get on the line really late, or, just get on the line for autographs and skip the panel. It created this weird paradox of who's the bigger fan.
And who won out?
Oh, yeah, definitely the people who skipped the panel. I mean, the panel was quite entertaining, but you definitely weren't getting an autograph after that. They started late, and they still intended to finish that session on time, so
And
that was that.
but they did have the little original animation of Marceline's dad introducing the thing, and they played a really weird promo video that they had for that if you haven't seen it, Kate, I suggest you go and
Interesting. I will have to look it up.
it is definitely unique.
Yeah, that was definitely a highlight of that panel.
Although didn't I skipped out to get on the line, but didn't
Yeah, Marceline's voice actress sang that song about Marceline's dad eating her fries.
which is even funnier when you think about it, when her voice actress's dad in the show is her actual dad.
Right.
So that she was singing the fry song while her dad is next to her.
And he did bring up how that it wasn't that far removed from reality that he would like sneak off, he'd sneak some of the fries off of her plate and stuff as she was growing up. Just a lot of anecdotes they had. Also worked into them writing that encyclopedia. How she said like scribbling those little notes in the margins is also something reminiscent of what she would do with some of his other work.
Nice. I hope I get to go to the Adventure Time panel tomorrow.
Yeah, that does sound fun. I didn't get to talk about it more, but I really freaking loved that Superman panel. So that was just a ton of fun. they started with, like, Bruce Timm was there, and he's always really cool. They had a bunch of other people whose names I don't know. The co-publisher of DC, Dan Ditto, however you pronounce his last name.
I say Didio because it's fun to say.
It is. Didio is really fun to say, so we're going to go with that one. Another guy who used to work at DC at comics, now he works in animation. Another guy from DC, and then the girl who played Supergirl and Superman Unbound. And they just talked about Superman a bunch and the 75th anniversary. They showed some clips from the Superman documentary that's going to be on the release of the new of Man of Steel on Blu-ray. And they talked about how the characters evolved. They got some questions about some of the things in Man of Steel and whether they liked them or not. There was a lot of defending of Man of Steel in there. For better or for worse. There was a lot of... They were all, behind it at that point. And then they showed this 75th anniversary short that they produced for... It was originally supposed to be one of the DC shorts that they show on their Cartoon Network block. But it ended up... And Bruce Timm was talking about this. The idea came from Zack Snyder, because they said, hey, Zack Snyder... They asked him if he had an idea for doing some kind of short for Superman for the 75th anniversary. The idea came from him, and it just... As they were working on it, the length and the budget and everything just ballooned to a point that it just didn't... It wasn't going to be short enough for the Cartoon Network block anymore. It's probably... They did say it'll probably still end up there, and it'll be on the Blu-ray, and it'll probably be online pretty quickly, too. But it's basically... It's like Superman over 75 years, and it's like it opens with Action Comics, and then it flows through to different versions of Superman. It shows, like, Fleischer Superman, George Reeve, the Super Friends, Christopher Reeve, the DC, the animated TV series from the 90s.
Did it have Lois and Clark?
Like, I was looking, and if it did, it was so subtle that I didn't notice it. There was a lot of background stuff, though. Like, over the course of it, there are so many... There's, like, just straight-up panels from the comics in the background and stuff. It's insanely well done. A lot of the stuff from the 90s, so... There's the death of Superman. There's everything with him coming back to life. The blue and red Supermans. All of that shit is in there. And then it ends on, what's his name? Henry Cavill, Superman from Man of Steel. And one of the scenes from the movie, animated. And then it just goes into the big Superman 75th anniversary logo that they have. All to the Superman the Motion Picture theme.
Wow.
So it is really freaking good. Really, really good. So I really enjoyed that. And they played it twice. Because the crowd went nuts when it went on the first time. And I think like Bruce Timm said, alright, we gotta watch that again or something like that. And they said, we gotta wait until after the Q&A. So they did the Q&A, which was okay. Which is where all the Man of Steel stuff came up. And then they played it again. And it was just as awesome the second time.
I really want to see that, even though I'm not like a Superman fan.
No, believe me, the second it is online, I will be telling everybody to watch it. So, and I tweeted Ed Sizemore directly and said, "Yeah, you need to watch this, and you need to." I was like, I got choked up when I watched it, and you need to watch it. He's like, I plan to, and I'll have tissues ready. It's that good. It really is. That song just gets to me every time, though, so.
I went to a Legend of Korra panel. They played an episode. And they did a standard Q&A. The most interesting part, I think, was that they went through what it takes to make an episode, which to like me or Kate and to Shad or Pat's probably not like surprising, but I feel like a lot of the kids in the audience probably have no idea how much effort goes into making like a half an hour show and basically going step by step. All right, here's the script, here's the iterations it goes through, here's, the storyboards, here's the animatics, here's the keyframes, then, here's just the sheer number of, here's like, how many how many pictures drawn it takes to make this simple automatic that, looks good, but isn't anything you'd ever show on a thing. Then we send it to the in-betweeners. That's how many, now the same scene, now this is how many drawings, and, and they showed, various stages and, coloring, various effects, and I think once again, nothing that I personally have not gathered over my years of being interested in animation, but I feel like for a lot of those kids, it was really, because, Korra does gain, definitely has a younger audience. It definitely showed them what goes into it. I think that was not, and they did it in an entertaining manner. It wasn't, Jeffrey's lecture on,
Eat your peas.
Mm.
Kind of thing, yeah.
I'm sure now those kids can grow up like us and complain about cartoons on the internet. Yes.
Yay. Cartoons. Oh, man.
I think one of the highlights of my day was when we met a very famous man. Very
Ed
important
Sizemore?
man.
No, I mean, Ed Chavez?
I saw him, but I didn't meet him for the first time.
Ah.
But today was the day that Cookie Monster was at New York Comic Con. And it was amazing. It was fantastic. I do wish that Cookie Monster had been awake during Comic Con. Apparently, it was too much for him, and he was asleep. But we did get to take pictures with him, and his assistant was there, and he was a generally nice dude who talked to each and every person that came up and got an autograph. So I thought that was pretty cool. And he was Cookie Monster, who is like... He's like a kindred spirit. Everyone is a little Cookie Monster, I think.
Anyone who has a soul.
Yes. What? Do you guys met Cookie Monster too?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it awesome?
Yeah.
All right.
It was only the second opportunity in which I was happy to have my picture taken. Once, the first time was with those enormous Monster Hunter weapons, and then with Cookie Monster. Those are pretty much the only kinds of exceptions I would ever make.
Yeah, it was pretty great. Although it did highlight, this was the only autograph session I think I did on the show floor, and right away the problems of lining up in the show floor presented themselves pretty much instantly, because you couldn't block cross traffic at the corners. So you had to have a gap in the line. And as soon as there's a gap in a line, everyone tries to line up there because, obviously. And then they had to... But the part where the gap was also, like, right by Cookie Monster. So everyone's like, oh, there's no line for Cookie Monster. Let me just get in here. And it was like, stop. And then we're all lined up, completely blocking this other booth so that they couldn't, like, sell anything because we're all standing there. I could just see how...
C?
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 C is for Comic-Con. C is also for Cookie, Carnivore, Cannibal, and...
Curry.
Yes! Because we also had Go-Go Curry today.
Deliver it to us like we were kings.
Yeah, I really loved that they tweeted about how they would deliver to Comic-Con, and apparently people were taking advantage of it
because when I called, they were like, okay, we'll make one more delivery to Comic-Con. So I'm glad whoever those other people were.
Yeah.
It's quite enjoyable to chow down on that, on the curb right outside the center, watching what's called, there's people watching everyone going to tap out at the stands. I love that they've been using that terminology because, as I've already joked numerous times, when you have the attendants telling everyone to get ready as they're leaving to tap out, I expect them to all be put into submission moves.
Well, and I think it's worked out really well. I'm really loving the system.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's such a minor change that makes everything feel just so much smoother because you just show your badge once and then boom, you go around. Because I'd always have the thing where like I'd accidentally like it would be cold in a room, so I'd put on my jacket and then my coat would be under my jacket and I'd have to fumble to get out my pass. And then...
Or just somebody'd be asking you to see it and you're like...
Yeah, or you gotta flip it around.
Because they have to see the hologram or something stupid like that.
So they seem pretty confident that people aren't getting by. Because no one checks your badge once you are through those doors.
And it's got like some, fail safes. It's got some other like little systems built into it. It's like you have to tap out. If you don't tap out and then you try to come back in, it'll say you're already in there. And then it's like, okay, so what? Do you hand your badge off to somebody else to let two people in on one badge? Like they've got some clever things going on. Like they thought this through, and they watch the doors. They're like, and the thing I think that makes it the best is that it's having everyone tap in outside of the actual convention. You do the badge check, you tap in, and then you go to the door or wait in line to go in. Speeds everything up because everything's taken care of earlier on. And like when we went through this morning through there, they had 11 lines going at once. Where it's just like go, 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 go. Took no time to get through the check.
And you guys were heading to an autograph session that started at 10, right?
Yeah.
So what time did we get there? And then how long did it take you to get in?
So we got in through security at like 9:45-ish?
Yeah.
9:45, 9:50. We were basically, because of the way we maneuvered, we were right at the door.
Yeah, we were, and then once the doors finally
three
opened,
kids in front of us, and then once the doors finally opened,
yeah, we were upstairs within a minute.
Yeah, we were up there real quick.
I totally
They opened like 10 minutes late, though.
See, but the thing is, this is what I didn't get, and I had since I have a press badge, I go in a different door, and then I'm like allowed in the building before it's 10 o'clock. But the thing that I didn't understand, and this is why I wasn't quite clear on what was going on with you guys at the doors, is because, I waited at the top of the stairs. If you've never been to the Javits, there's these big stairs, and basically you can kind of look down and sort of see the sea of people kind of coming into the convention, like flowing in. But while you guys were still outside, people started coming up the escalators from the bottom floor.
Here, I think I know what that is. I'm not 100% sure. But one of the security guards said that these are people who had been there since 8 or something like that, is what he said to us. What I think they did is they banked all those people in. I like calling it banking when they tap them. Tap your badge to let you in. And then they took them all downstairs to the queuing hall.
Right.
And they just lined them all up there to clear that area in front of the Javits for the next group of people to line up.
So I think that's why you guys were 10 minutes late.
Because they were letting all those people out first.
Okay. Because that makes sense. Because, it was past 10 when I walked past those front doors, and they weren't open. And I was like, but people are coming in from under the ground, like the mole people are like invading Comic-Con because these doors aren't open yet. So that must have been what was going on.
They did. Which is clever. It's smart because it's managing the crowd. So
I think so far, besides some of these lines that have gotten out of control, like the crowd management, kind of the basic crowd management has been better.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're underestimating the demand of some of those littler panels, and that's why they're not like putting more effort into lining them up.
Yeah, no question about that. They still seem to be a bit lost with that.
Like, I think it's just because they're small and they're in a horrible location, and there's like those are problems they don't really have anything they can do with them. But
the only solution I can see is if they actually cut down on the amount of panels going on at the same time, just so they can, open up some of those walls and just make overall larger panel rooms.
yeah, which I'm one for more programming rather than bigger rooms. Like you can have 2 small panel rooms or 1 big panel room. I'd rather there be 2 small panel rooms most of the time, just because I like a lot of options for what I can go to. That's why every year I always say I wish they did fan panels, just because, or they took more open submissions for panels that aren't from professionals, aren't from industry professionals, I could say. They can be like, more academic stuff, more fan stuff, things to round out the programming so there's more things to go to at any given moment.
I think I do wonder if they're just kind of worried about, and I'm not disagreeing with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking about their mindset. Like if Marvel's running a Marvel 50 Years of Comics or whatever panel, and Marvel's doing it, there's sort of this, well, that it's professionals, that they're going to have like actual staff there, and it's not that any fan panel would be liable or anything, but like they're kind of controlling what's being said about their stuff. Whereas if you have a fan panel being run about that kind of alongside these professional panels, there might be some sort of like confusion about the information being. I can totally get into the sort of marketing and company mindset that they're probably contending with the fan panel problem, but you guys know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. Like, these are big companies, big entertainment companies that are concerned about their message and having their messaging be correct at all times. But I mean, there is always a level of, you can have a fan track. Like, it could just be one room and it's like, here's the fan panel room.
I mean, I totally wish for
and
that
it would
too.
be labeled properly. And I feel like that would mitigate a lot of these things. But it probably is a bit of, it's a bit of a
risky safety dynamic.
Yeah,
and
it
basing
is.
on safety.
It's also, and I think what the real issue is I think they're out of panel rooms for the most part.
Oh, they absolutely are.
And if they had a way to add, another panel room, they'd sooner just have it be another, panel room for Marvel to do their panel in than, Joe Schmo comic fan to do his. So that's, I think, where a lot of it does come from.
Okay, I'm beat, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a fun day. It was surprisingly manageable for a Saturday at New York Comic Con. I think a lot of factors went into it, but I'm a little bit shocked that if we're correct, there were that many phony badges to really create the problems that they were.
Or, like Pat said, which I didn't even think about before, was the handing off, like, oh, okay, I'll go in, then I give somebody my badge, and then
Basically, 2 people go in, 1 person comes out and gives it to a 3rd person. Now, 3 people have gotten in with 2 badges.
Exactly, which actually might be the thing that was happening more than just having like fake badges. Was like, oh, okay, well, we'll just pass this around or whatever. So, and also maybe just sneaking in. I don't know, like just bypassing.
I think they've made it just harder to do that.
That's what I think so too.
Just the way it's built just seems like it's just not as easy to sneak into that building anymore. They're handling it. They're much stricter. They have a lot more security at the entrances.
And the fact that you have to tap out means once you get in, even if you get in, you also have the added problem of leaving. You know, I agree. It's surprising how much calmer it felt today. Still crazy busy, but like not. I can't breathe, and I definitely appreciate that. Especially since the Javits Center isn't getting any bigger.
No.
All right.
Breathable. That's the word.
Alright, good night, guys.
Good night, everyone.
I'm gonna dream about Superman some more.
Cookies.
Cookies. Oh, also good one.
Oh, night, guys.
Good night. Oh, besides Superman theme, anybody want any songs? Want any?
There were.
C is for cookie.
Good enough.
The fuck is SBO?
SBO is from
And
one
this
of the,
and
Sonic
this
spin-off
stage.
games. Yeah, this is a horrible stage.
Yeah.
What's the name of
Before
that Rio.
the Rio Suzaki or something. Like it's supposed to be like the Ryu clone. Isn't he supposed to be the Ryu clone that they made for King of Fighters, and then Capcom retaliated by making Dan?
Yeah, maybe.
I think, and yeah, wow, that's a bad recolor. And then like one time there was like it was Rio versus Dan. There was like it was just, they claimed it was a canon fight.
SBO might be from.
Like, is it the
Sonic
Knuckles
the
Chaotix
It
game?
might be that one. It might be Sonic the Fighters. It might be Knuckles Chaotix. I think it's Knuckles Chaotix. But that was a 32X game, so nobody played it.
Ah.
Except that one guy that had a 32X.
And now I gotta look up who this guy is.
They've had some like original characters on here too. Like what's the one who sort of looks like Shadow, but he's brown. I think what was his name? I think like Duke or something stupid.
So I was gonna make a poop joke. I think Duke works for that.
Yeah.
He's SBO the Chameleon.
So that is Chaotix, I think. Or like Triple
correct.
Trouble.
First appearance, Knuckles Chaotix, but he was also in Sonic the Fighters.
Yeah, we're both right.
Good call, guys.
Was he in Sonic Heroes?
Sonic Heroes?
Yeah, with like
Shadow
what? With
the
like the
Hedgehog?
alligator and the stupid bee.
Yeah, that game was dumb.
He was in Sonic Rivals 1 and 2, but in Sonic Rivals he was only a collectible card. He was at Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games.
Well, they have to fill that game in with as many characters. Man, that's Kingpin versus
This
that guy.
I'll go with constipated Kingpin. This will be the last thing I do.
Okay.
All in on Urkel.
How are you tired after all those cookies?
Why wouldn't I be tired after eating cookies?
Because of all the sugar?
Nah, man.
Nah.
It ain't enough.
You ate
I'm
How many did
made of sugar. I did not eat all those.
Yeah, she ate
Oh,
all
okay.
those cookies.
Al ate a bunch.
I haven't eaten any yet. I should
Well,
get a cookie.
get going on it,
I'm getting
man.
on this cookie. I'm gonna eat this one right here.
Uh-oh, this is bad. Norimara can
That was all
Cyber Aqua.
strange.
Yeah, it's got like a hook. It's like a Pac-Man cookie.
Oh, I gotta find that short. I think was it just called Game Over? It's one where they recreated all those old arcade games but with food. Have you ever seen that one?
Yeah.
I think in Pac-Man was a pizza and they kept animating different
Yes.
slice adding and subtracting slices. But there were other good ones too. I think they have Galaga or Space Invaders in there. Yeah, I think it was called Game Over.
Was it a short?
Yeah, it was a short. They
I-
showed it before one of the children's film festival
Yes.
things.
So I must have seen it.
So Comic-Con.
Well, he has to wait till he finds out if he...
I think he will.
Was it Spider-Man?
No, it's Cyber Akuma. I don't know why this Otaku can summon him. And Anita from Darkstalkers. Well, that was stupid.
But you can't, what is his name?
What guy?
The real Akuma.
Oh, rare.
Oh, Rare.
Rare Akuma, yeah. Can't tell him a rare Akuma, because...
No, he's not hardcore enough.
Alright. What? Maximum pixels? You shut up. Hopefully I don't see Yasu, Yariyarta.
I'm gonna go solid cookie. Wow. I had chocolate chips.